Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a unboxing, an install, and a review of the Eufy security dual camera 2K video doorbell. Let's start with the unboxing. Open it up. We've got a nice pull tab here. This unfolds. In the middle, we've got just a little pamphlet, and then there is a sticker, so a 24/7 monitoring. That's something nice that you could put up on your window, and a quick start guide. So that's all the documentation. And then on this side, we've got, this is the actual doorbell itself. This is a couple of different mounting brackets. So there is just a flat one if you're just going to put it on and have the doorbell facing outward. And then there is an angled one so that you can angle it if the particular location that you're going to be installing it would benefit from that. There's a template which I'll be using coming up here. I'm going to actually be drilling into brick to put this on the front of the house, so that should be interesting. And finally, on this side there is this looks like a micro USB cable. And then over here, let's see, we got a few things. Okay, this is the actual chime. So this particular doorbell camera is wired. So it connects into your normal 24 volt AC doorbell. So the normal ding dong doorbell. And the camera itself uses that 24 volts to power itself, and you lose. So this was a little unclear to me when I was researching these, but what I found out is that you lose your actual normal doorbell functionality, so it will no longer ring. And in fact, they even give you some jumper wires that I'm sure in here. Yep, here they are. They give you some jumper wires to make it so that the two wires that are going to your existing doorbell, those are jumped across so that you get a 24 volt AC signal. If you can see that. Yeah, see those two terminals? Those are going to go to that 24 volt signal. And then instead of ringing the existing hardwired doorbell that you may have today, it is instead going to wirelessly ring this chime. So let's finish going through here. All right, so this is the US plug end. So that's going to go on the back here. That'll twist in place. They give you this pin, which we'll see that when we're doing the installation. if you need to pop the camera off of one of these mounting brackets, you actually use this little pin. As I mentioned, the jumper wires and some other connection wires and some mounting hardware. So let me just kind of lay all this out. Okay, so there is what the unboxed Eufy 2K wired doorbell looks like. So next up we will look at the installation. The first part of the installation is going to be installing the Eufy security app. I have an iPhone, so I just got this off the App Store. It is Eufy Security. And I know a little bit about this camera because I've installed one already. I wanted to kind of test it out before moving forward with additional ones. So this will be the second wired one that I'm going to install, and then I'm going to be doing a wireless in a future video. Wireless, I should say a battery operated one in a future episode. And I also purchased, and it's on its way here, a floodlight camera. So I will do a future video on that as well. So I'm kind of buying into this whole Eufy infrastructure. One of the things that I like about it, it actually uses artificial intelligence to scan any motion activated video, and it only gives you an alert if it detects a person. In addition to that, it gives you a snapshot of the person's face, which, it's just nice. There's a lot of adjustable settings as far as motion sensitivity, and if you want to turn off that artificial intelligence so that it captures every motion event, you can do that as well. I guess full disclosure is I tried that on this camera, and as you can see, maybe you can see in the picture, there's quite a bit of trees that this camera sees, and it was going off nonstop, even when I turned it down to the lowest sensitivity. So having it being able to only alert on detecting a person is a really nice feature for me. So at any rate, install this app, and then the next thing you're going to do is power up the camera itself through that micro USB cable and go through setup. So on the back of the camera, under this rubber cover is the micro USB slot right there. So just get this cable connected. You can hear the camera power up. Once you have the camera powered up, you're going to go through the app to add it. So there's a My Devices at the top. You just hit the plus. The home base is, I believe, what's used for, there's a home base and a home base 2. I think those are used for the battery operated cameras and battery operated doorbells, I think. I haven't done those yet. There's a couple different cameras here. There's a Pro and there's a E, another Pro, a Solo Spotlight, quite a few cameras. There's that floodlight camera. Actually, that's not the one. I ordered the Floodlight Cam Pro. So again, that'll be in a future video. And here we are, finally, doorbell. So I am going to click on doorbell. This wants to scan. There's a code on the back of the camera, so let me scan that in. All right, so I scanned that barcode. It's actually a little bit tricky. You got to get the camera at exactly the right distance so that it'll focus right. So we'll go next. It's already plugged in, so next. And wait 20 seconds until the LED indicator is solid green, and it is. So it is solid green. And we will put in my Wi-Fi password.
Press the sync button until you hear the beep.
So now it's talking to me. It says press the sync button. In order to press the sync button, you'll need this little tool again. There's a hole on the back. Wait for the beep. And the status light turn blue. Okay, so then this says heard a beep. Yes. We will generate a QR code for the Wi-Fi connection. Please use your doorbell to scan the code on the phone. So it's interesting, they're really using all the technology here. They use the QR code on the device and the camera on the phone to do a scan, and now they're going to do it vice versa. All right, so I scanned the QR code, and it's trying to connect to my Wi-Fi network.
Setup was successful.
Okay, so it successfully added it to my Wi-Fi network. Okay, I'm going to skip the welcome video, but you know, I'd recommend watching that if this is the first one that you've done. I'm getting notifications already because it can see me moving around while I'm doing this installation. Next step is syncing that chime with this one. Okay, so as I said, this chime is most likely set up for different global regions. This is the US, so put this on here, turn that one way or the other, locks into place. All right, so we'll get this chime plugged in. Little green indicator light. Okay, now that that's plugged in, there's a sync button on the top. Okay, so I think that puts it into sync mode. Now I need to go back to the app. Yeah, so now here I'll click connect. And this wants to check that the light is blue. So yeah, it's back to a solid blue. What you can do at this point is invite people, so that if you have other people in your household, they can get access to this camera. So I'm going to do that. At this point, everything's synced and in place. You can hit the three dots down here and then the gear icon. There's a bunch of different settings in here. The main one that I'm looking for first is I want to give it a better name. Right now it's called Doorbell. This is going to be the front door. Save that, and that's about it. Okay, so next up is going to be getting the existing wired doorbell itself set up so that it can power this camera, and then we will drill a couple of holes and get this mounted, and that's it. All right, this is pretty dark. This is utility area where my circuit breakers are, And of course, you know, the next step in the process is to turn off the breaker that is powering the transformer that goes to your doorbell. Most places that I've seen, most homes that have a wired doorbell, they're going to have a transformer that looks something like this. Most of the time, it seems like people mount them directly to the electrical box, just like this one is mounted. You've got some low voltage wires coming out of there, and what you need to do is find the breaker that's actually powering this. For one reason, it's safety, but then the other is you just don't want to accidentally short something and you know, burn out this transformer. So find that breaker and get that turned off, just for safety and for a clean installation. You can verify that the transformer is turned off a couple different ways. In my case, I have a light up doorbell, so when I turn that breaker off, that light should turn off. You could also use a multimeter. So let me show you that. Okay, the light's off, and you know, of course, if you try to ring the doorbell, it's not going to do anything because the breaker's off to that transformer. This is the existing chime that we have for the wired doorbell. You'll need to take that cover off, and I'll show you inside. So it's a relatively standard wired doorbell. There is there's a common in the middle, and then there's a terminal for the front door and the back door. I already have one jumper in here because, as I mentioned earlier, I have an existing doorbell camera on one of the doors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the second jumper that's going to go from that common terminal up to the front. All right, I'm going to loosen these two terminals. And put in the jumper. It's important to note, leave the wires that are there, leave those in place. Again, what you're doing here is, instead of using that mechanical doorbell switch to close the circuit, you're using this jumper to close the circuit, which will then give the 24 volt power to the camera 100% of the time. I'm going to tuck this wire in here a little bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like done. All right, that jumper's in place. So what we're going to do is we'll actually check that voltage out there after I remove the existing doorbell switch, so I can show you what that's effectively doing. But from this point, this part of the installation is done, so you can just put this cover back on, and it'll just sit here. Again, this doorbell won't ring anymore at all at my house because I've got two different doorbell cameras on here, so these chimes aren't going to do anything anymore. All right, so this really just pops off. And there's not a whole lot of slack here. All right, breaker's temporarily back on. And I know I've been saying 24 volts this whole time, it's actually 18. But again, this is just another way to make sure you know when the breaker's on and when the breaker's off. You can check your light if you have a lit doorbell switch, or if you have a multimeter, you can check this. Note that this is, it's alternating current. So for, I don't know, whatever reason, I'm sure somebody else in the world knows, they use alternating current transformer for doorbells instead of direct current. So make sure your meter does AC. Okay, the breaker's back off. You can see 0 volts on the meter. And to be clear, on the back of the doorbell, input range is 16 to 24 volts. So anywhere between 16 and 24, you're going to be good. All right, now that the existing doorbell switch is removed, really what you need to do is just take the mounting bracket that they gave you. There's also a template. I think I've said in other review videos I'm not a huge fan of templates if you can just use the bracket itself to mark holes. What's nice is it looks like, in general, they place the holes wide enough apart so it can go in the, not into the brick itself, but into the mortar in between. So, and actually having it on this line, mortar line, gives me even more flexibility. So I may try to use one of the existing holes. I don't know. I'm gonna line it up and just try and figure out what makes the most sense. Mark it and drill it with a masonry bit and show you the finished result. All right, just for reference, I used a 1/4 inch masonry bit, drilled the 2 holes, and it comes with anchors, wall anchors. So I put the 2 anchors in, and next I am going to mount the mounting plate. All right, so as I showed earlier, there is the mounting bracket itself. You have to put this on regardless. But then if you want, and if your application calls for it, they give you this wedge so that it'll angle the camera. In my particular case, this doorbell camera is kind of in the corner of the front door area, and putting a little bit of an angle on it so that it looks outward more is going to be the application that I'm looking for. So just to show how this goes, this piece mates into here, and then this is going to go onto the wall, and then 2 screws are going to go into here. They give you short and long screws. I believe if you're going to use this wedge, because it adds thickness, you should use the longer mounting screws. Leave it a little bit loose until you get both lined up and started. And then do a final alignment, trying to get it as level as you can. Tighten these down. Don't over tighten them, just get them so they're nice and snug. And then I will show you what I'm going to do with the wires next. So it comes with this bag with 2 leads and 2 wire nuts. So here's those leads. Just take off the insulation. I always like to twist these up a little bit, and we're going to straighten out the wires that were there. They were, of course, bent around the mounting screws on the original switch. There's a little bit too much of the wire that's stripped, so I don't want to have any exposed wire from when I put that wire nut on, so I'm just going to shorten that exposed lead just a little bit. Alright, as is the case with probably most applications, there's not a whole lot of extra wire to work with here, so you're in a pretty confined space. Get these 2 wires next to each other in the same length as much as you can. Try to get the wire nut to stay on here. Not a huge fan of wire nuts. Alright, so you're going to want to just wrap that wire around a little bit to get it sort of started, and then see if you can get that wire nut on there. And then the other one, even less extra space. I don't know if it would have been easier to do this before putting this mounting plate on. Maybe someone out there can learn from my pain.
Hopefully.
So, final step of the wire process is to hook up these connectors to the back of the camera itself. Hooks into the bottom, make sure the wires get tucked into that space, and then just clips on there. So we're not powered on yet. I need to go turn the breaker on and we'll test things out. Okay, this concludes the installation. Everything is up and running. What's nice about this camera, it's got a nice view that looks out. As you can maybe kind of see from the view that does exist here, putting it on that angle was a good idea. And then it's got a secondary camera. I put the box from the Eufy camera itself down there. That's like the package indicator camera. So there's a camera up so you can look out, you can capture faces, all that stuff, and there's a camera that points down so you can see if a package is sitting there. Overall, I really like the cameras. The storage for the video is held locally, so there are no recurring monthly fees for cloud storage. You could argue either way about cloud storage if you like it. Actually, I think if you like it, you could get it on here, but you do not have to. I don't really like the recurring fees, so that was an attractive option for me for this particular camera. It's got really good video quality. It's got that artificial intelligence built in to capture people and only send you indications when it sees people. So overall, really good camera, really pretty easy to set up. Just get set up with the app. The only thing you didn't see as I was setting things up, because I already had an existing one, you do have to go through and make an account. Since I was already logged into the app, I didn't have to do that. It's easy to share access to the camera with family members, and overall, thumbs up on this for sure. We will put a link to this camera in the description below if you're interested, and look out for future videos on the battery operated version that I'm going to put on a different door that doesn't have an existing doorbell in my house, and then also a floodlight camera that I'm hoping will cover a corner of the house that I've never had the ability to have a camera or do any kind of recording from. So look out for those future videos. Thanks for spending the time to watch this. Hopefully it helps somebody out. If you've got questions on the camera, please put them down in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. And other than that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd encourage you to do so, and please hit the like button. That really helps get these videos out there so that I can help other people as well. Thank you. Bye.